The bullet whipped past Silas' sly Cade's ear with an angry buzz, a little too close for comfort. Another one kicked up a plume of dust just ahead of Dusty's pounding hooves.
I know!
Though the Mustang hadn't made a sound beyond its ragged breath, Dusty was saving his wind for running, which was more than Sly could say for Red Mike Kovacs, whose shouted curses echoed through the canyon behind him. Sly patted the leather of his gun belt. His 6-shooter was there, but the bullets were lacking. A fool's gamble. He'd chosen whiskey over bullets 2 nights ago, and now that decision was about to be carved onto his tombstone. Ahead, the canyon wall seemed unbroken, a solid sheet of red sandstone. His hope was a dying ember. Then he saw it, a dark, narrow fissure, a scar in the rock. It was a desperate chance. They were far enough ahead. Maybe they could get away.
There, Dusty! Go!
The horse didn't need telling. He veered and they squeezed into the cool, dark tightness of the fissure. Sly's legs scraping against the rock. For a terrifying moment, he was sure they'd stick fast. A sitting duck for Red Mike. Then they burst through into a blinding light of a hidden box canyon. It was a dead end, a beautiful, sun-drenched, inescapable prison. A sheer cliff face rose on all sides. Sly's shoulders slumped.
Oh, well,
He muttered, patting Dusty's sweat-lathered neck.
reckon we led him on a fine chase anyway.
Dusty snorted.
Well, you could have kept going straight, you know.
Dusty snorted again, louder.
Well, you too.
His eyes, adjusting to the light, caught a glint. Near the base of the far wall was a pile of gold and jewels sparkling in the sun. A final cruel joke from the universe. A fortune and no way to spend it. As he looked closer, the shape of the pile seemed odd. One lump looked vaguely like a crouching cougar, another like a giant coiled rattler. All of them were covered in a shimmering crystalline crust. Calcite, not gold. Then, from the opposite side of the mesa, a figure emerged. Red Mike, dismounted. He'd found another way in. He grinned, his rifle coming level. "Reckon my luck's better than yours, Cade." Sly stood his ground, hands raised, a worthless nest of mottled, oversized eggs between him and his death. What followed was less a gunfight and more a frantic, humiliating dance. Sly dove, rolled, and scrambled, using the strange statue-like formations for cover. Dusty, clever as ever, moved aside, tucking himself into a corner away from the spectacle. Sly's mind raced, not with plans, but with regrets. That last bottle, that last hand of cards, the last time he looked at a starry sky and seen anything but cold, empty space. His boot caught on a rock, and he stumbled, landing hard on his back behind the strange nest. He looked up. Red Mike was there, 20 paces away, rifle steady, a triumphant gleam in his eyes. This was it. A shadow fell over them. They both froze. They had no idea what they were staring at. It moved with a rustling, scaly grace. The mother cockatrice moved in between them and stood over her nest. She was a creature of myth and nightmare. Her body was a mix of serpent and fowl, covered in iridescent scales, and her eyes held the ancient, patient cold of the desert itself. She saw Red Mike, his weapon aimed at her clutch, and she acted. A shimmering beam of light, silent and terrible, lanced from her eyes. It struck Red Mike. There was no scream, only a dry, grinding crackle. His body seized, the color draining from his clothes and skin, transforming into a rough, reddish sandstone. His triumphant grin was forever frozen. Sly stared, breath caught in his throat. The creature turned her head. Those petrifying eyes settled right on him. He threw his hands up higher, waiting for the end, an end that didn't come. She tilted her head, a gesture more bird than monster, and nudged him gently with her beak. It was then that the psychic burst flooded his mind. It wasn't words, but pure, unfiltered concepts of a sort. Gratitude, protection, young, danger, help. A primal, compelling command was forged in the fire of her will, searing itself onto his soul. Help me get them to safety. Dusty, who had been ready to bolt, let out a skeptical snort that sounded impossibly loud in the silence. The cockatrice turned her head, and for a moment, the two non-humans locked eyes. The horse's ears twitched. The creature gave a slow, deliberate blink. It wasn't quite understanding, but maybe a ceasefire of sorts. Stunned, Sly slowly got to his feet. He began to walk backwards, away from the nest, away from the terrifyingly grateful creature, and he bumped into something solid and warm. It was Dusty. The dang horse nudged him firmly in the back, pushing him towards the nest.
"Ah, you traitor!"
Sly whispered. His outlaw's instincts, never fully dormant, kicked in. While the silent understanding passed between the horse and monster, Sly's eyes fell on Red Mike's petrified form. The body was stone, but the gun belt, the bandoliers, the pack slung low on his hip, they were still real. He moved in quickly, his hands deft and silent, looting the statue for every bullet, every strip of jerky, every useful thing. He may have been a prisoner of sorts, but at least he'd be an armed one. As if on command, some unspoken magic maybe, the eggs began to hatch. The chicks that emerged were awkward, downy, and endearingly clumsy. Their cheeps and chirps a stark contrast to their mother's terrifying presence. Through the psychic bond which had faded from a roar to a persistent hum, Sly felt her plan, a long, perilous trek to the safety of the distant stone forest. The journey began with Sly's resentment, a tangible thing, a bitter taste in his mouth. He was tethered by an invisible leash, compelled to protect these things. Dusty, though willing to follow Sly, was still deeply suspicious. His ears constantly flicked towards the cockatrice, his eyes wide with equine skepticism. But slowly, Sly's outlaw's skills began to find a new purpose. His sharp eye, once used to spot lawmen or easy targets, now scanned the horizon for predators and sources of water. His quick draw, once used for intimidation and robbery, now sent warning shots past a curious coyote or a circling hawk. He saw the mother's gentle care for her young, the way she herded them with her wings, the soft, clucking sounds she made to soothe them. Over time, the compulsive bond weakened, but Sly's commitment didn't. He was no longer doing it because he had to, but because he wanted to. He found a purpose in being their warden, and Dusty, sensing the profound change in his rider, begrudgingly accepted the strange caravan. This was where their friendship truly blossomed. When Sly grumbled aloud, wiping sweat from his brow,
"I could be in a saloon right now. Cool beer, a card game, tarnations, maybe a lovely lady on my lap."
he turned to see Dusty and the cockatrice looking at each other. The horse let out a long, suffering sigh, and the mother gave a soft, guttural cluck that sounded suspiciously like a chuckle. Ah, don't you two start, Sly would mutter, a ghost of a smile lifting his lips. Another time, faced with a fork in a dry riverbed, Sly pointed left.
That way looks clearer.
Dusty immediately looked at the cockatrice and shook his mane as if to say, "See what I have to deal with?" The mother simply started down the right fork, her long tail swishing with certainty. Sly and Dusty followed. During a rest stop, Sly was clumsily trying to tend to a scratch on one of the chicks with a poultice of crushed herbs. It was squirming under his rough hands something fierce. The mother watched, tense but trusting, while Dusty ambled over. He nudged Sly's hand with his nose, almost showing Sly the right kind of pressure. It was a trio. Sly, the well-intentioned, clumsy protector, the cockatrice, the experienced and powerful mother, and Dusty, the clever, practical go-between. Finally, they had reached the outskirts of the stone forest, a breathtaking landscape of towering, wind-sculpted rock spires. Their relief was short-lived. You see, a posse of 10 men emerged from behind the pillars, led by a younger, leaner version of Red Mike. It was Jeb Kovacs.
"Silas Cade,"
Jeb called out, his voice tight as a bowstring. His eyes were fixed on Sly, but they kept flicking to the magnificent, terrifying creature behind him.
"Where's my brother?"
Sly didn't reach for his gun. Instead, he stepped forward, placing himself squarely between the posse and the cockatrice and her clutch.
He's gone, Jeb.
Sly said, his voice low but clear.
He cornered me in a box canyon. Didn't see the nest until it was too late. This creature here was just defending her young.
Jeb's face hardened.
"So you hid behind a monster. That's your play, huh?"
A cold, ugly smile touched his lips as he finally looked past Sly, truly taken in the cockatrice.
"Is that the thing that did it then? Suppose I can just put a bullet in it, right now. Call it square."
It wouldn't be square.
Sly said, his heart hammering against his ribs.
It'd just be another killing. This doesn't have to be about her. Red's quarrel was with me. Your quarrel is with me.
Jeb's eyes glinted with a predatory light.
"Oh, I reckon it's about the both of you now. I hear tell some smart city types would pay a fortune for a thing like that, dead or alive."
He raised his rifle, the barrel shifting from Sly to the mother.
Jeb, now you wait.
Sly's hands came up, palms out. Sweat stung his eyes.
You want to fight? You've got one. Just you and me. But you let her and her young go. Your word on it.
"My word?"
Jeb spat the words out.
"You think you can buy their lives with yours? The only way that beast walks out of here is if you're face down and dead in the dirt, Cade. And even then..."
He shrugged, a cruel, casual gesture.
"Might just shoot the chicks for good measure. And that damn ugly horse of yours just for looking at me wrong."
As if on cue, Dusty let out a sharp, offended snort and stamped his hoof, a sound echoing in the tense silence. He shook his mane, his gaze fixed on Jeb with unmistakable disdain. Jeb blinked, thrown by the horse's human-like reaction. A few of his men exchanged uneasy glances.
"You see that?"
Jeb muttered, half to himself.
"I think I just got sassed by a Mustang. Oughta shoot him now out of principle."
Sly felt a cold fury settle in his gut, burning away the fear. This wasn't about money or escape anymore. It was about something pure. He took a final step forward, his voice dropping to a deadly calm.
Then let's end it. A duel. Just you and me. Your men stand aside. The beast won't interfere. No matter who's left standing, she and her young walk away. You give me your word as a Kovacs.
Jeb sneered, but the twisted clan honor Sly appealed to bound him. His men were watching, and he'd been challenged directly.
Fine,
He bit out.
you have my word, but you tell that nag of yours if he so much whinnies, the deal's off.
Sly eyed Dusty and stepped forward. The posse formed a wide circle in the dust. The air grew still and heavy. Sly met Jeb's gaze and gave a single, sharp nod. This was his final test. As he stepped into the circle, he felt a surge of silent support. He didn't dare look back, but from the corner of his eye, he saw Dusty stand shoulder to shoulder with the Cockatrice. The horse's head was high. The creature's gaze was steady. The united front. They believed in him. Somebody had to. Jeb's hand was a blur. He drew fast and clean, the sun glinting off his pistol. But Sly's motion was one of pure, focused clarity, born not of greed or fear, but of purpose. He didn't shoot to kill. His bullet was a streak of lead and justice, striking Jeb's gun hand with a sharp crack. The pistol flew into the dust. Sly stood over the shocked and bleeding Jeb.
It's over, Jeb. The debt is paid.
The posse, having seen Sly's mercy, bound by Jeff's own word, lowered their weapons. One, an older man with a wary face, put a hand on Jeb's shoulder.
Them's the rules, Jeb. You gave your word. We don't take kindly to those who break their word.
Shamed and disarmed, Jeb had no choice but to concede, his vengeance turned into ashes in his mouth. With the threat gone, a profound silence fell over the stone forest. The mother Cockatrice turned to Sly. She approached him slowly and gave him one last gentle nudge with her beak right over his heart. It was a final thank you, a benediction of sorts. One last clear thought entered his mind. Freedom. Then, she turned to Dusty. She gave a respectful, slow dip of her magnificent head. Dusty responded with a soft, low whicker and a nod of his own. A farewell between comrades in arms. She then led her chicks into the labyrinth of stone, and within moments, they had disappeared from sight, returned to the hidden wonders of the world. Sly stood for a long time, staring at the place where they had vanished. He felt a strange emptiness, not of loss, but of completion. He looked down and found, lying on the ground by his foot, a small, perfectly formed stone feather. It was warm to the touch, a petrified piece of hurt, a permanent token of his redemption. He swung up into Dusty's saddle. The weight of his guns was familiar, but the man wearing them was not. He was still a wanted man, but he was no longer Sly the thief. He had a new purpose. He touched the stone feather in his pocket, his petrified heart once again made flesh.
Well, come on, partner.
He said to Dusty,
Let's go see what's over the horizon.
and together they rode out of the stone forest. Not in search of a score, but in search of another, greater purpose.